Well, it's that time of year again. Another DLC has been released for Hearts of Iron 4, and this one promises to be a doozy. Hey folks, my name is Pravus, welcome back to HoI4 with the new Götterdämmmerung expansion, or however you're supposed to pronounce that, I have absolutely no idea. This update should be absolutely huge, with a completely reworked focus tree for the Germans. Yes, they have finally received the update we've all been asking for, plus they have a few new unique mechanics just for them. We also have new national focus trees for Austria, Hungary, Belgium, and the Congo, plus a new special projects system, which should change up some research and late-game technology in a pretty big way. Now, everyone and their mother is me playing as Mr. Mustache Man when this DLC releases, and I don't blame them. The new national focus tree looks really good, but I'm going to take a slightly different route and instead turn my attention to humble Austria. Austria, of course, doesn't really have a historical focus tree because by 1938, they usually get Anschluss by the Germans, which means they don't really get to do anything before World War II begins. But today we are going to change that. It's not going to be easy. Austria starts off in a very precarious situation. We have widespread unemployment and we are recovering from an economic depression following the Great War. Not to mention we are under a punitive treaty, which is basically forbidding me from fielding a large army. Kind of a problem when you want to resist the German invasion. And on top of all of it, we have our own brand of fascism that has been taking over the country. Now, believe it or not, this is not the same kind of fascism that you would see in the German Reich. It actually has much better resemblance to the Italian version of fascism. The result being that my political system is actually very much opposed to Adolf Hitler and what he wants to do as far as the Anschluss, even though historically the people were very welcoming of an incoming annexation. So how do we fight them off? Well, there's a few different approaches we could take. We could rewrite our constitution and go down either a communist, democratic, or of course, a monarchist route and install a Habsburg on the throne once more. And let's be honest, you all knew that was coming. And some of these actually are pretty darn fun. You get to form some very large coalitions, the Danubian Federation, eventually working toward some version of an early European Union. Kinda cool. But I'm instead going to lean into our own unique brand of fascism and see if we can make ourselves distinct from the Germans by going down totalitarian safety. This is the closest thing I'm going to get to an actual historical route. So, pray for me. This is going to be rough. Of course, we're going to go for our standard lineup of some extra civilian factories at the beginning of the game. We only have 3 military factories, which is obviously atrocious. And we want to go for our opening construction and research technologies. Notice, by the way, there's a new tab up over here called Experimental Facilities. If I wanted to build myself one of these special new facilities, this is where we could conduct some special research, including, let's say, some advanced physics and nuclear research, aerodynamics, land warfare, etc. This is cool. I'm not going to have the economy sustain this for a while. I may never be able to play around with this, but it's really cool. Maybe I'll get lucky and I can show that off for you guys later. We'll see. Alright, with that focus down, you might think you want to go down for clamping down on the DNSAP, which this is effectively the Nazi version of fascism that's making its rounds through Austria and is at odds with our current ruling version of fascism. It's complicated and I don't care to really explain all the distinctions. I'm not going to go for this right away though. If we do, we're going to get some events from Germany which are going to cost us a lot, mostly in the form of political power, and I need political power. So instead I'm going to take my time on this and turn our attention to regulating the finance sector. This is about to be especially relevant for us because we have one national spirit which is actually working well for us right now, and that is called Phoenix Insurance, which is getting me extra political power, recruitable population, stability, and war support. Basically, it was a special life insurance program which actually made people feel comfortable joining the Austrian military because if they died, they get a very handsome payout for their family. So this has provided some very much needed stability. However, as you're about to see, we now have an insurance scandal. Falsified balance sheets have exposed a massive deficit. This company is bankrupt. Now, no matter what, because of this, we are about to plunge headlong back into an economic depression. But we could spend 100 political power to try and cover the payouts with our government funds, which gets me some of the benefit of Phoenix Insurance, not all of it, but at least some, and we'll have the opportunity to revive Phoenix Insurance later, which seems very poetically appropriate, you know, since it is a phoenix rising from the ashes. But yeah, going right back into an economic depression is pretty atrocious. 40% consumer goods factor, 20% penalty to factory output? Ouch! We will reform our central bank, though. This is going to give us some choices with our industrial concerns here. Your options basically are to have consumer goods reduction of 20%, production efficiency base of 10%, or split the difference and take a bit of both. I think all three of these are acceptable for different things. I'm going to go for the consumer goods factory and try to get my economy up and running faster rather than worrying about the production efficiency. And now we're going to turn our attention to the economic resuscitation. I want to get rid of this economic depression and get myself back on the path of recovery. It's not the last of our problems, though. We can see here that the Germans are remilitarizing, and we know full well that they would like to annex Austria. We need to prepare for the worst with anti-Anschluss measures. In our decisions here, we can see we can spend political power trying to reinforce and garrison the different states of Austria, giving me some core territory defense. It's not going to be enough, though. Let's be honest. If I don't get myself a military, we are nothing but a speed bump to the Germans, and that's assuming my own people don't betray me and join the Germans anyway. On the topic of the Anschluss, though, that has been reworked in this DLC for the Germans. Previously, they just had to field a certain amount of manpower, and they'd be able to click this button and annex us automatically. Now, they need to have an army that is at least 24 times bigger than my army, and it needs to be fully equipped. This means that every new unit that I am able to field and equip in Austria is going to require 24 times more out of the Germans in order to be able to Anschluss us. It gets more complicated than that, though, and you'll see why in a bit, but for now, that's kind of the rule of thumb. The faster you are able to rearm yourself, the better. And the way we're going to do that is by now clamping down on the DNSAP. Now, again, the main reason I held off on this is I needed to stock up a bit of political power. And once we're about halfway through this focus, I'm going to spend that political power by improving relations with the French and the British. We could also improve relations with the Americans, but I think I'm happy with just these two. And the reason I'm doing that is because as soon as this is done, we are going to approach the democratic nations and ask them to guarantee my independence. Improving their relations gives me a much higher chance that they will say yes, though it is hardly a guarantee. Alternatively, we could reach out only to Italy, and this would be a little bit easier in terms of my political power, but I'm actually going to save this for a little bit later to try something cheeky. Uh-oh, we have Nazis in the government! Yeah, the Germans are very angry that I'm clamping down and are now making some demands, and that's going to meddle with me. Installing a political advisor I really don't want. Also, you'll notice that the total army fighting strength required to fire off the Anschluss is lowered, so it's something like, instead of 24 times my army, it's like 20 times or something along those lines. No matter what we do, that is going to happen, but we could spend some political power and reject this political advisor, who we would not be able to fire. I'm gonna say absolutely not and lose some political power. This now creates a second follow-on event where the Germans try again, and I could spend 100 political power still saying no. I'm gonna do that, and as a result, I'm in the negative with my political power. That's why I was improving my relations with both of these guys before that event fired off, because otherwise I would not be able to get their relations quite high enough when this event was going to fire. Sometimes you get lucky, and the Germans relent before that second event. In my case, though, no, not so much. Now let's see what the French and the British decide to do. France has offered our independence diplomatically. They feel very convinced that their words will stop Adolf Hitler from Anschlussing me. Right, sure. This is not exactly the same as what I was looking for, but you know what? They are at least giving me some equipment. The US is actually guaranteeing my independence. Didn't expect that one, thank you. And the UK outright rejects us. And you see this is one of the flaws of the treaty, because it turns out they just kind of found a way to weasel their way out of it. Dang you, British. We could bribe them and lose some consumer goods, but I'm not going to do that. We'll just accept this. The important thing is I got a guarantee, and it was from the one person I didn't improve relations with. Plus, we did get at least a bit of infantry equipment, so now all of my units are looking a little bit stronger. It's good enough. Let's go ahead and refine the Vaterlandisch Front, or however you're supposed to say that. And this will improve our fascism support by a bit. Less support for unaligned, more stability, more war support. Yeah, it's good. And then once that's complete, we now have a choice. We could seek agreement with the guarantors, that's going to be Italy, UK, France, and the US, to allow us to once again rearm our nation, or we could just disregard them entirely, which is going to have some sort of diplomatic repercussions. I'm going to seek their agreement. I would like their consent. Having a high opinion of me is going to help, but it is still not very likely that they are going to work with me. And by the way, as soon as you have 150 political power, go ahead and get yourself that silent workhorse. You're gonna need that, guaranteed. Every bit of political power is helpful right now, for a lot of reasons. Okay, we have formally requested rearmament. We will see what they say. In the meantime, let's go ahead and begin said rearmament, because I'm not really taking no for an answer. And by the way, they did say no. I've never seen them not do this, by the way. So we could accept this, and until 1940, this treaty is in place and destroys my ability to militarize. Or we could rip up the agreement and say, screw it, we're going to accept any sort of diplomatic consequences. Or we could negotiate this. And this is a very risky choice, because no matter what happens, you have to accept the negotiation. Sometimes it's fine. And it's going to basically mean just hold out for one more year, and then this will expire entirely, and you can still do your conscription laws and so on. So it pretty much takes care of almost everything you want. Other times, you have that exact same result, but now they install a political advisor you don't like who forces some more democratic transitions in your country. So this is very risky. It seems like it's far more likely to install a bad political advisor. I'm going to go ahead and take the risk and rip up the agreement. I got the guarantee that I needed from the US for a while. They're probably going to be very mad with me and retract it now. We will see. But I'm going to try not to rely on them. And so far, at least, they don't appear to be reacting at all, which is kind of weird. Okay. Huh. Literally no impact? I don't know if I trust that. Well, I did say I wasn't going to take no for an answer, so there you go. Now, we need to start stocking up a lot of political power. I'm going to try to bring Hungary back into the fold. We could do this militaristically, but it'd be far better for me to go ahead and do it diplomatically, because I don't exactly have the strongest military. By the way, we're going to go ahead and start training up a few more infantry right now. They may not be very good, but remember, every one person I field is 20-something more the Germans have to field. And they can do it. Eventually, they will Anschluss me. But the more I can delay them, the better. Let's go ahead and pick up that industrial concern now for the central bank. That consumer goods reduction of 20% will eventually be massive. And now we are going to start integrating the remnants of the DNSAP, which is going to modify Austrofascism to get a little bit better. An alternative approach, though, would be to try and either join a faction with the Germans, which is almost certain to fail. It even tells you this in the description. They will likely reject no matter how much you improve relations with them. Or we could try to reform the Central Powers. This could be a way of getting Turkey and Bulgaria into a faction with me. Now, one thing that the game does not tell you is if you do reform the Central Power faction, the Germans will just give up on the Anschluss. They'll be like, you know what? It's not even worth it anymore. I'm not going to try that and then get stuck into a big war against Bulgaria and Turkey. We got bigger fish to fry. So that's kind of my get out of jail free card. When it looks like the Anschluss is going to be very dangerous, that's when I'm going to start popping that button. For now, I want to focus on building out my economy and my military, and that means I need to reclaim a lot of old kingdom territory. Now, down over here, if you look at the bottom of the decision tree, we can see that we could restore the Austro-Hungarian Empire if I control this entire highlighted region. I would then gain cores on all this territory and become a proper superpower. That's going to take a while, though, and again, I cannot afford to go to war even once. So, let's use my political power to start pressuring Hungary. Now, we could issue an ultimatum and try to get them to join right now, and they are almost certain to refuse. But we could start building up a bit of rapport with them by, let's say, offering a non-aggression pact and try to be very friendly. This costs me 50 political power and takes a month, but it's going to increase the odds that they would accept if we ask for their annexation. Okay, relations have improved. If we were to take a look at this now, it says it is uncertain whether they would accept the request. If we want to increase our odds, keep spending that political power. I don't have any political power to spare, though, so I'm going to take a risk now and pray that this just works. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and start gaining support from the HoI4, which are basically going to be our militia. This creates more units, and again, more free-fielded manpower just slows down the Anschluss. And Hungary did decide to join us. Excellent. Okay, so that paid off. Boom! We just annexed all of Hungary, we get all of their troops, and yes, that means more manpower to deter the Germans. And unfortunately, we did not core all these states, but still, this is something. And a whopping one more factory that I can use. Oh, thank God. Now, we are having some paramilitary problems that are causing civil unrest. Do we truly have control of the HoI4 over here or not? Well, we could say that they had their chance, and then we lose this nice little militia support we just gained, which would have made them stronger. Or we could say that people need to just adjust. Or we could say this is the beginning of a new Austria. And this will create a new leader for our nation, Ernst Rüdiger Starhemberg, the fascist prince of House Starhemberg. don't know that this guy is, like, phenomenal, but he's reasonable enough. We'll go ahead and pick him up. There he is. Okay, so what do we want to do next? Well, we could do the same thing we just did to Hungary to, you know, other territories. We could do it to Czechoslovakia, for example. We could demand some territory from Yugoslavia, Poland, or Romania, though not all of their lands, and war is still quite likely. Instead, for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and deviate and go to Frontmilis over here, which is going to boost up our militia attack even further without any stability cost. And this will lead to Poised to Strike, which will get me partial mobilization for free. Now, obviously, I'd rather move up to War Economy, but thus far, I haven't had any political power to spare, so this will save me a fair chunk. And the faster I'm able to pick that up, the more civilian factories I can save, the faster I can start remilitarizing. Oh, okay, but this is going to lead us into the next update for German expansionism. Every week from here on out, the total fighting strength requirements in order to enact the Anschluss is getting lowered. So they are rapidly going to be able to approach a point where they can Anschluss me. We've got to be very careful here. I'm going to go ahead and grab the update to our conscription. 150 political power is a lot, but I need to start getting more manpower. And we're going to go ahead and train up a few more militia. Hopefully I don't need them, but, you know, more forces, again, just slows them down. For right now, it still is a very low risk of Anschluss. All right, this will start getting more and more dire as they get stronger, and they will tell us, hey, look, we've got more forces. We're going to Anschluss you any minute now. But there's our free partial mobilization done, so this at least helps by a bit. So now we're up to only 11 factories? Well, I was kind of hoping for a bit more than that, but all right. I'm going to start demanding Czechoslovakian lands next. If we can do this right, I'll be able to demand the entirety of this nation because all of it is considered to be part of my former empire. Oh, we actually get 13 factories. Okay, so it did get me at least a little bit more value. Let's go ahead and start researching some medium tanks. I would like to get an upgrade there because if I can start putting a few tanks into my defensive armies and go for the old-fashioned Space Marine strat, that might be one way of helping me survive. Oh, but the German Reichs have expressed dislike of our military high command. They do not like one of my generals. Right, well, we could retire him, which, doesn't seem like a great idea. It also reduces the requirement for the Anschluss. I'm going to say, no, that's not your business. Go away, leave me alone. The Germans aren't going to take that lightly, though. They are now going to try to assassinate a member of my high command. We're going to go ahead and spend 30 political power in order to up our security. Notice, by the way, they are at a medium risk, which means new options came up for more fortification efforts, military factory construction, and so on. We've still got a little time, though. Don't worry, we're doing okay. We can now try to annex Czechoslovakia. It's actually already uncertain. This is a bit of a risk, but I'm going to try and see if we can skip this process and save myself up to 100 political power and just do this now. Also, the Germans failed to murder our high commander, which means we actually get a lot of political power as a result. And I'm going to pop back up into our economic branch over here. It's time to devalue the shilling, which for a while is going to ruin my consumer goods, but it's the only way that I will eventually be able to get the Phoenix insurance back up, get an economic boom, which would be massive, and also some research slots. This takes a while to fire off, though. Let's also hire Victor Kimbok over here, which gets me some consumer goods reduction plus cheaper laws, which means now it should only cost me 90 political power if I want to get the war economy, which wouldn't be a bad plan. The Czechs did fold! All right, I got lucky twice. Boom! All of this territory is now mine. Now, one small problem. The Germans can still demand the Sudetenland and have some ultimatums, and that could still pose a rather massive problem for me. But in the meantime, I get a much larger economic base and a much larger army. This is still not enough to bring us down to a low risk of Anschluss, but I'm hoping it does slow things down further. With the shilling devalued, I think the next thing I'm going to do is try to demand a bit of land out of Poland before the Germans do anything to them. And yeah, do I want to go for that war economy or do I want the manpower? Ooh, it's really hard to say. I think I'm going to go for the war economy right now. And now at 127 political power, we can go for that extensive conscription, which seems good enough for me. Actually, I kind of regret going for Take Back Galicia right now. Maybe it would have been better to go ahead and reform the Central Powers first. That might have been a better plan. Well, whatever, we've got that now. Hopefully that wasn't a mistake. Let's go for the reform of the Central Powers before Bulgaria falls into the sway of the Germans, because they are improving relations with each other. Actually, you know what? Hold up. Before we reform the Central Powers, I need to think about that. So, if we do that right now, I think what will end up happening is the Germans are going to bypass the Anschluss focus. They can move on to Sudetenland, and that might mean that I'm only 70 days away from going to war against the Germans. Whereas right now, the risk is medium, but maybe I can afford to wait a little bit longer. The longer I wait, the more time I have to build up and do things, right? We're going to cancel this for a minute. I'm going to take a risk. Let's find something else to do instead. Like maybe integrating Bohemia. That would get me cores on all of this, tons of manpower, more factories, and so on. Which I could then pair with a couple of focuses over here to get more division attack and defense. That seems smart. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Let's go ahead and integrate Bohemia instead. And I'm going to take a risk and try to get Poland just to give me their land for free right now. What are the odds I can get lucky 3 times in a row? Poland does give me the land. I did get lucky 3 times in a row. What do you know? Well, that was exceptionally lucky. Thank you. Bohemia integrated is now the time that we move on to the Central Powers. What else do we have here? Political power gain, stability, conscription law, and so on. It's okay, but it's not what I need. Let's start focusing a bit more on the military stuff over here, in case I need some military bonuses. You never know. Let's go for the army experience, actually. 50 army experience will let me actually put together some decent templates. At that point, maybe I'm willing to take the risk. It still says it's a medium risk here. I know the Germans are deploying more troops. But let's think about this for a second, right? So I have 473,000 troops in the field and equipped right now, right? Multiply that by 24, the Germans would need to field 11 million soldiers in order to do the Anschluss normally. What I don't know is how much that cost has been reduced over time with this thing right here. Every week, oh no, now we know. 3.16. Okay, hang on, it actually does tell me. That's good to know. So they need to have 1.5 million soldiers deployed. So right now, they can't do this. So yeah, I can afford to take a little bit of time then. Let's get some of that army experience going so that I can actually get some decent defensive templates, and then maybe we'll be able to hold our own. Forts are being built along all of the borders, so we're looking at least somewhat defensible. It'll cost the Germans if they attack me. So this is good. By the way, you may have noticed there's this new little thing in this DLC. There's a maximum fort level for every province depending on its terrain type. So now, you can't just have level 10 forts literally everywhere. If you want to increase the number of forts you can have, you need to go to your engineering tech and get fortification engineering. Yeah, that's a thing now. Oh, the Germans just began the process of the Anschluss. How's the timing of this going to work out then? Reform the Central Powers. I have 35 days. It's going to take you 70 in order to do this. Right? That's what it takes for the Anschluss? Yes, so I should be able to form the Central Powers, and then I hope he has to give up. It's nice that the game actually warns me that that's happening, though. That's very good. Recruitment push. Ooh. Sure, why not? Let's just go ahead and use some command power to just get more weekly manpower. Now, I did want to get Italy to defend me, but we haven't done that yet. Still, as long as we can get him to back off, he'll lose his focus, and then we get to focus on trying to get Italy to support me. Okay, reform. Do they join? Yes, and yes. All right, so we have our faction. So please tell me the Germans are going to back off. On the off chance they don't, what should I do next? Reach out to Italy. That was what I want to do next. All right, so let's try that. Do we get the pop-up saying that it's too late and you're not going to do an Anschluss? Uh-oh. I'm not getting a pop-up saying he's not going to do an Anschluss. No, we did get it! Oh, thank God. I was really scared we were about to lose everything. It's imminent! Imminent, I tell you! But no. Alright, Anschluss risk has been mitigated with us now part of the Central Powers. Adolf Hitler has decided it is not worth integrating us into the German Reich. Woo! That got close. That was close. Very, very close. Now, he still might go for the Sudetenland, so we still might be going to war very soon, but at least now we've got all of this going for us, and I need to make sure that we get Italy to support us. Don't think for a second that we've just gotten in the clear here. I really don't think we are. The Germans might decide to leave me alone, but I really doubt they'll be that nice. Yep, see, there they are. They are demanding the Sudetenland. I knew that was going to happen. Hold on, we're going to wait. Find out what Italy does. Please tell me you give me your independence. Guarantee the independence. Guarantee the independence. Come on. Hang on. Come on. Give me... There it is. Okay, so now, if we have to defend ourselves, the Italians are going to join us. Do we surrender the Sudetenland? I don't want to. If I do, I'll have to fight over it again in order to restore my Austro-Hungarian Empire. But do we think we have enough defense to survive against all of this? That is kind of the hard part to decide. I know he's got 1.5 million men on the field, so he's got at least 3 times the army I do. But at least I think almost all of my soldiers are now at least 18 combat width. I think we're going to go ahead and say no. He is going to declare war on me now, though. That is going to happen. Let's go for, I guess, some division defense on core territory bonus. And I'll get a infantry expert for another 15% defense on my divisions. That means these currently have 262 defense, 83 soft attack. That is not great, but it is something. And there's the war. All right, we knew that was going to happen. So, I've got all these people on my side. Italy, can you join my faction? You could. I have to wait until March, but I actually can have these guys join me. Perfect. So we can split them off from the Germans permanently, which would be very convenient. And also, Godwin von Brumowski has offered his service, a fighter ace. Sure. It's not super helpful, but I'll take it. Why not? I see some tanks moving around. So one thing that's different in this DLC is the AI actually is capable of things that it wasn't able to do before. Namely, concentration of force. It used to be that the AI would basically put all of their troops up against the front line, and then they all kind of would push together, right? But that's not very efficient, and if you had a bunch of tank divisions, they could be spread out all over the place. Now, the AI says, let's put infantry everywhere, move the tanks to one area, and then go for strategic goals, like, let's say, victory points or a supply hub, and start cutting off my opponent. Which means the AI is now far more dangerous than they used to be. I want to know if it's possible for me to move up here toward Breslau and see if I can cut off these tanks. He's got some over here for sure. If I can cut off and destroy these tanks, this actually could be pretty big. At this stage of the game, the Germans don't have very many. They've got light tanks, right? That's it? So, like, every one of those tanks that we could cut off and destroy would be worth something pretty big. The Italians want to send me 7 expeditionary forces, sure. The Germans are not making really any pushes. I don't think they like my forts. The only place they want to attack is where they have tanks right now. Which, fair enough, and he nearly was able to split me. So yeah, literally all of his tanks are in this one area. Look at this. This is a change in the AI's behavior. It's quite smart. Okay, hang on. We actually just managed to pull off a small encirclement. If I can hold this, that should be all of his tanks trapped. If I can hold this and then encircle and destroy all of this, we've actually got a chance, not a very good one, but a chance at winning an early war against the Germans. Definitely having some supply issues, though. I can't really fully cut this off. Fixable, though, since we did get ourselves a supply hub. Kind of lucky, actually. There we go. Problem solved. Now that we have supply and they don't. Okay, that actually ended up being halfway decent. We can choke all off this. Okay, that was quick, and now we have supply. They don't. Yeah. All right, that should be nice. Is there any other focus in here that would be game-changing for me? Recruitable population could be nice. Military factories. This is solid. Division speed, organization, attack, and defense. Wow. But no, I don't really see anything in here that's going to be game-changing for me, so it actually might make more sense to go ahead and jump back into things like our economic tree. For example, we could get Phoenix Insurance back from the ashes. Or, I'm sorry, an economic boom. Like, how could I say no? We do have infantry equipment level 2. This at least could give me a slight advantage. So far, our factory output is still atrocious, by the way. But we can't actually punch through most of this. Even though I have halfway decent units, my soft attack is just awful. It's fine, though. If we've got some nice static lines and they're just going to throw themselves at me, fine, do it. I don't even care. Honestly, there's a lot about this that feels more like a freaking World War I fight than anything else. Pretty static lines across the board. There we go. Okay, that was not much. But we have managed to kill off a couple 100,000 of their units compared to my 60,000 losses. The thing is, they can sustain that many losses, so that was not enough of a victory for me to feel very happy. But what I care about is the fact that I broke all of their equipment. The Italians, surprisingly, are making some consistent pushes towards Berlin, though. How the heck you guys are doing that, I don't know. There we go. We have risen from the ashes. Do we want to go for a research slot? Now wouldn't be the worst time in the world, I suppose, to do that. Sure. Oh, I can get my army offense guy now. Yay. And let's also reduce the cost of Grand Battle Plan, because I think that's going to end up being our doctrine of choice. Soviet Union just declared their war on Finland. Not really surprising, but that's fine. Another nice little encirclement up over here, mostly using the help of the Italians. I'm not sure why they're much better at punching through than I am, but almost all of this push has been up to them and the few tanks they have. Goes to show how in the very early game, even light tanks really make a difference. Do we want to try working on getting things at the Balkan and Romanian territories now? I'm okay with just getting started. We have a fair bit of political power sitting around. Even if I just kind of cozy up to them for a while instead of trying to be aggressive, we could probably get a little land out of this. I still think that Yugoslavia won't give me everything, though. Typically, even if you make them happy, they'll give you this northern little section, but not the rest. You have to ask for that separately, and they're likely to say no. There we go. That little pocket's been cleared as well. Solid progress against Germany. We're this close to Berlin. And the sooner we end this, the better. They've destroyed every single train that I've got. Getting supplies to the front line is proving very, very tough. Forget Berlin for a minute. We're having a hard time continuing this push. I'm going to go ahead and start taking any concave where I can at least hit from 3 different directions. Because the Germans seem to be pretty... Poland just joined the Allies. The Germans seem to be pretty spread thin at the moment. I think we can push through a few areas and start hitting their industry. So, like, concaves like this are perfect. Just keep doing this multiple times, and we will eventually be able to push through all the way over here to Leipzig. And I think that's going to hit them pretty hard in Sachsen and eventually in the Thuringen. Get through that. We'll eventually start surrounding Berlin, but in the meantime, no more factories for their war machine. Whoa, when we made Poles over here, I didn't even realize. Hello. Okay. Tell you what, my generals feel pretty confident about themselves. Let's just see what they can do real quick. Okay, that's a pretty decent amount of green. Decent. Rapidly turning into a fair bit of red in a lot of places. Okay, but we can get Ulm. All right, I win the game. If I own Ulm, that's it. Germany's got nothing. Actually, that was enough for them to then start their own counterattack, which is now a lot of green for me, which means they're now throwing away manpower and equipment too. Good. If I have to keep doing this little tug-of-war game back and forth, I don't mind. That's fine. Can also work our way toward our next research slot. Cool, we're gonna have 5 soon. And that's a nice little encirclement over here too. Perfect. By the way, I'd like to point out, America, I don't think you've been a help at all in this entire war. Just FYI, have you sent a single soldier? I'm pretty sure you haven't. Whoa, Italians, what are you doing? And these guys decided to shoot all the way around Rostock. They're going way faster than I know what to do with. Whoa, and I think, though, that the Germans just brought forth their first Panzers, medium tanks. Okay. This is where things are going to start getting a little crazy. Romania wants to join my faction. No, I can't allow that. See, I need your land, and if you're my faction, then I can't bully you. And instead, they joined the Axis. Oh, frick me. Wait a minute. No, not like that. Right. Well, we're about to have a serious problem then. They have free access in my back door. Bulgaria, get them! Fortunately, Italy has a lot of reserves, so while we're still losing this fight, it'll slow their advance. If I can just finish off Germany quickly, though, this will be fine. Come on. What would it take for me to get to Berlin? Here we go. Come on, there we go. Got Berlin. It's not enough to finish Germany off, of course. 55% of the way towards capitulation. And the Italians cannot hold my back line at all. Okay, so we have got to rearrange here. Whoa, Italy also just made a naval invasion. Ooh, that's gonna end the war. Well, I say that, but Romania is large enough to be a leader in this war, so I actually do have to finish them off. What is this, by the way? We stole advancements for a project V3 multi-charge large caliber gun. Oh, we captured their land warfare facility. Well, that's sick, because now I actually get to do something with this. So these are some of the examples of projects we could work on, only for the land section. Of course, there's naval, air, and physics as well. Flamethrower tanks, a military engineering vehicle, a super heavy howitzer. Kinda cool. We could try doing the flamethrower tank, I suppose, but I would need to have a scientist first. Scientists are a whole new type of leader that you can recruit, which, you know, if I were playing as, let's say, certain nations that had scientists in history, we would actually have some starting characters. But since we don't, we'll just have to recruit one this way. Does cost me political power to do this. All right, fine. A bombs expert, an artillery special project. Okay. Sure, we'll put you in charge. And once you start one of these, I don't think you can stop and change project, but this is how we would unlock the flame tank companies. It's no longer unlocked from the engineering level 2. And I think we've managed to fully stop the advance of the Romanians. Okay. And they do not have nearly as powerful troops as the Germans did, so now I think we're going to be okay. Oh, Bulgaria's crushed them. Never mind, that'll be why. Oh, and let's not forget that we need to start sucking up a bit with Yugoslavia. Now, we could go for the non-aggression, but then I'm tied to one, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to fight these guys. So instead, let's go ahead and start rallying against them. Let's scare them a little bit of saber rattling. Well, the Germans shouldn't have a whole lot going on left here. München is still holding out a little bit. They don't have very many reinforcements because the Italians' naval invasion up over here was an absolute stroke of brilliance. They were not able to handle that at all. Not much left to go here. Nuremberg, I think, might be one of the last ones to fall. Nope, they've still got victory points somewhere. Come on, fall, Germans, fall! There they go! Okay. I do not have as much war score as I would have liked, but, you know, it's pretty good. So I have to take this territory over here from Romania, or else I'm not going to be able to form my Austria-Hungarian Empire. So let's make sure we take all of this for sure. Beyond that, in Germany's territory, what I really care about are all of their factories, as many as I can get my hands on. Let's start with all this. Italy's trying to take a bunch of stuff too. No, please do not take any of the territory here. Why do you need to take Romania? I'm just saying, I invited you into this faction, I can take you right out. There we go. Look, Italy, if you want to have a little bit of buffer states between things like the Soviets and against the Allies, that's fine with me. You can be responsible for this. I'm taking the lion's share of what matters. Confirm and exit. Okay, 24 states for me, and all of a sudden, Austria's looking pretty good. Yugoslavia can join my faction. Hilarious, no. I'm not gonna lie, that was actually a really tough war. I had to cut a lot of micro out of the footage, but the Germans are really making better use of that concentration of force mechanic. Even when they ran out of tanks, they would just amass a bunch of infantry in areas and start pushing. It was a little bit harder to react to that than it used to be. Honestly, I'm kind of impressed. Like, that definitely made the game a lot harder. So, what happens now? Because, I mean, no one's going to kick off World War II. The Allies are surprisingly fine. Well, I know for me, the goal right now is to simply reform the Empire. And I'm not far away from being able to do that now. All we have to do is conquer some territory from Yugoslavia. And we'll see if they fold. They do. We get some territory, not all of it. This is where I have to further demand the return of all of this land down here. And we should go ahead and build some of our own other factories and facilities. Do we want to get some land warfare facilities? Sure. These have to be placed close to a supply hub, I believe. That is how this works. We also can finally set up some apprentice programs, and this is going to eliminate the widespread unemployment, which is going to be worth a lot of political power, consumer goods, and stability. Thank you. The Soviet Union just declared war on Poland. But, well, does this mean that the Soviet Union is now at war with the Allies? It might very well be the case. Yes, sure enough. All right, so forget the Germans. Now it's just straight up democracy versus communism. And we're sitting here nice and pretty in the middle, and we can pick whichever side we want to die. There we go. Yugoslavia did refuse demands. We figured that was going to happen, which means it's now wartime. And I will call in the Kingdom of Bulgaria, but not Italy, because I don't really need Italy's help. And let's see if we can end this war relatively quickly. They don't have very full... Well, Italy just got called in whether I like it or not. Okay, fine. Thanks for that, Bulgaria. Point is, can we just end this war quickly? Because I want to grab all the land I need for my empire, dang it. All of it. The answer is almost yes. I don't even have to conquer this land. Oh, Italy just gave up Bessarabia. That's funny. I don't even have to conquer the land. I don't have to win the war. I just have to control this. Which, well, we didn't even get that far. All right, fine. We'll just take it the old-fashioned way. I'll take your navy as well for good measure. And Italy, I didn't say you could have Kosovo. Give that to me. In fact, I didn't say you could have Debar either. Give that to me too. Ah, boo. They actually did manage to stop me from getting it. Well, that's awkward. Fine. Thanks for the border gore. Whatever. The important thing is now I can restore the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Boom! And just like that, we're about to see our entire economy shift. Right now, we only have 264,000 manpower remaining and 133 factories, which ain't half bad, all in all. But with the rebirth of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, that shoots up to 1.72 million and 185. Ooh, nice new flag, too. That looks pretty good. And by 1941, I'd go so far as to say that the world is kind of our oyster. Our faction is controlling all of Central Europe. If I want to go and fight against the Soviets right now, I don't think that would be a bad plan. That way I can enjoy all of the rubber and stuff from the Allies while I gather myself a lot of factories. And with the Soviets down and all their industry behind me, I turn that around and I simply obliterate the Allies. Or maybe I actually fight both at the same time. I mean, that's a lot of allies all trapped in Poland right now. We could just encircle and kill them. That's all made possible by the fact that we do have some focuses down here for a war against the Guarantors, so I can get an annex war goal against the UK and against France. If I go down over here with an Austrian future, we can get ourselves a annex war goal against the Soviets. And we've already finished off the German Reich, so we can just work our way over here to a better German state. Ooh, we should do that. Oh, Italy is at war with all of the allies, I just realized. Oh, that's awkward. I guess Ethiopia must have joined the allies or something. The, government in exile. So you're just sitting here begging for me to help you, huh? Is that how this works? Oh, fine, if that's the way it's gotta be. Hi, Poland! We're back for more land! You should have given us everything. We should have protected you from the Soviets, but no, you did not do that. So now all of the French expeditionary forces are going to have to die. Of course, it'd be a lot easier if I could just get in here and take this port, and then they'll all be encircled and dead. In fact, Italians, I'm not sure why you didn't think of that. That seems like it was an obvious thing to do. There we go. Now they have no supply. They're all cut off. Oh, that's gonna hurt. We're getting some more facilities up online. Radar is a special project now? Wow, okay. There we go. We have finished with the better German state. The future of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Our journey back from being a severely crippled minor power has been a long and arduous one. Looking back at where we started makes it all too clear that this journey has been worth it, reborn, and even stronger than it was before. Now it is time for us to decide what our future holds and how we wish to be known. In due time, we shall be known as, I don't know how to say that. Or we could be known as Süddeutschland. Okay, get a bunch of cores that way. Or we're perfect as we are. Who even needs to change? No, unlock decisions to integrate all German cores over time? Frick yes. Unfortunately, in order to actually declare myself Großösterreich or whatever, I have to actually own all of the German cores states, and Italy took too many of them. That's annoying. Still, we can go ahead and spend our excess political power to just go ahead and start integrating what states we can. And yeah, as we continue getting all these cores, we're just getting better. 2 million manpower now, 233 factories. And if we just keep going like this and eventually betray Italy, we'll have a whole new tag. I think that's where we'll end things today, though. Obviously, we have a long, hard fight ahead of us, but I think we have proven that Austria is no longer simply going to be a footnote in World War II history. In fact, they can be a major player, and that is absolutely awesome. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. It really does help. Leave a comment, subscribe, hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.